Good morning and welcome to Korea Today live from Seoul.
Today and the following 2 days will see the worst of the energy supply situation as temperatures soar and power reserves plunge, and the government is asking for people's cooperation in conserving energy.
And the government's tax law revision plans continue to be a source of political wrangling. More coming up in the headlines.
And revisions to that tax reform plan gets plenty of coverage on in print as well, coming up. An advertisement on the state of Korean fathers, and more stories coming your way on Hot Clicks.
Torn apart by the division of a nation, families separated by the Korean War hoping to be reunited after 60 years. In observance of Dispersed Families Day, we hear their reality. Master tailors come together in one spot. The search for the perfect suit with the perfect fit. Tailors with the golden touch go head-to-head at the World Federation of Master Tailors on Monday, August 12, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Good to have you with us on Korea Today. Hope you had a fantastic weekend, albeit hot.
It is very hot, and that is because today is Malbok. Now, Malbok is the final day of the Samboktowi, or the hottest period of the summer, and this means that temperatures are going to soar. It usually means the end of the period, but it usually ends up being the hottest. So now, while the heat still lingers, happy Malbok to all of you.
Right. Hang in there, though. We are almost at the end of the relentless summer, and the country is entering a bit of crisis mode. And yesterday, the Minister of Trade, Industry, and Energy asked for people's cooperation in saving energy. And here are some of the things you can do. First and foremost, turn off the air conditioner. I know it's tough. It's easier said than done, but you know, maybe between 2 to 5 hours, go easy on the air conditioning there. And how about having some ice packs against your skin to help yourself cool off a little bit?
That's right.
Yeah, go easy on vacuuming as well as washing machines too.
Yeah, just do your part, especially during the peak hours between 12 to 4 p.m. Those usually end up, that period ends up being the time when energy is consumed the most. So just do your part, take a quick cold shower if you can, and try to stay cool out there, hang out in the shade.
That's right. All right, we'll get the show on the road with the day's headlines with Na Hyun-kyung.
And picking right up from Young and Minjung, the continued scorching hot weather comes with higher demand for air conditioning. And if the current pace of electricity use continues, the government says the nation could face another power shortage crisis within the next 3 days.
It's at a critical point where the breakdown of just one power plant could prompt us to initiate a plan to shut down power in rotation, just like we did on September 15, 2011.
But the minister may have spoken too soon. The Korea West East-West Power Corporation says one of its power stations in Dangjin, South Chungcheong Province, stopped operation as of late Sunday night. Authorities say it will take a while until the power station is up and running again. Now, this is expected to place a huge burden on the nation's power supply. The nation is said to have less than 2 million kilowatts in reserve, which means a level 4, the second highest, warning could be issued on Monday. The government is asking the public to voluntarily save energy while strengthening regulations on large companies to abide by the government's power-saving policies. The Finance Ministry's revisions to the nation's tax laws are continuing to cause a backlash in the political arena. The main opposition Democratic Party has decided to launch a petition campaign to obstruct the proposal.
On a party level, I order the formation of a special committee headed by the chairman of the policy committee to block the revision bill, which drops a tax bomb on the middle class. We will take actions to clearly oppose this.
And although the ruling Saenuri Party agrees the government's revision should be readjusted, it has condemned the opposition's move, especially the DP's decision to take matters outside the assembly building.
Their move is an unjustified outdoor protest aimed at creating factions and an unreasonable whining. Considering the mounting issues at the National Assembly, the DP should return to Parliament out of courtesy to the public.
And insiders say the political wrangling between ruling and opposition parties is likely to continue as neither side is showing any sign of backing down. One of the few surviving Korean victims of the Japanese military's wartime sexual slavery has passed away. The House of Sharing, a shelter for sex slave victims, confirmed the death of 87-year-old Lee Yong-yeol on Sunday.
The thought of being forced to sacrifice her youth made it hard for her to fall asleep. She said it felt like bugs were crawling over her body. She was tormented.
He left the country at the age of 16 and was forced to provide sexual services to Japanese soldiers in Myanmar during World War II. Since 1995, she was one of the leading activists in protesting against Japan's wartime atrocities, demanding not a settled agreement but a sincere apology from the Japanese government. With her passing, only 57 registered Korean sex slave victims now live in hope of receiving that apology. And of course, everyone here at Korea Today sends their deepest condolences and prayers to Lee and her family. And moving on, Kenneth Bae, the Korean American who has been detained in North Korea for the past 9 months, has reportedly been hospitalized after his health deteriorated rapidly at a prison labor camp. Bae's family members in the U.S. as well as many civic organizations are continuing to hold petitions and campaigns to raise awareness of the situation. They also plan to officially urge the U.S. government to resolve the matter as soon as possible once the number of people who have signed an online petition reaches 10,000. Kenneth Bae, a Christian missionary, was arrested last November on charges of trying to overthrow the communist regime. He was given a sentence of 15 years of hard labor earlier this year.
Good Monday morning, everyone. On In Print today, our news out of North Korea, energy news, and responses to the government's tax revision plan proposed last Thursday. So let's go ahead and kick it all off with a look at 동아일보. Its headline reads, "The North's Kim Yang-gon says Kaesong complex operations halted because of military authorities." You might remember Kim Yang-gon is the high-ranking North Korean government official that Seoul had wanted as the counterpart to its unification minister in the early days of the Kaesong industrial complex talks. And during a 2-hour-long meeting with an honorary chairman of Pyeongha Motor Corporation, Park Sang-kwon, Kim apparently revealed this fact, adding that seeing the joint business complex through was important to furthering other inter-Korean projects such as the DMZ Peace Park that President Park Geun-hye had proposed in recent months. The businessman Park Sang-kwon added that he was personally welcomed by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as well during his recent 11-day trip to North Korea. And of course, government-level talks on the Kaesong complex will resume this Wednesday. And as you can see, energy is big news on this Monday. Here's Trade, Industry and Energy Minister Yoon Sang-jik. You heard from him earlier in the headlines during the emergency press conference at KEPCO's headquarters yesterday. The minister underlined that the next 3 days will be critical for the nation's power supply, encouraging all to conserve to avoid a power shutdown. And we'll continue that topic over at 조선일보. It also has a story as its top. The headline reads, "Threats of major blackout returns in 2 years. Please refrain for the next 3 days." Now, it was on September 15th, 2 years ago, that the country's power reserves dropped to 0.2 kilowatts, prompting those rolling blackouts. And the article says the Energy Ministry predicts that power reserves today could fall to as low as 1.8 million kilowatts when power demand soars to 80.5 million kilowatts, which is about 3 million kilowatts higher than last summer's peak. Now, rolling blackouts are applied when reserves fall below the 1 million kilowatt level, so it is quite close to that. Even one broken power generator could put the nation's power supply over the edge, notes the sub-headline, underlining once again the importance for everyone to conserve electricity today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Is that correspondent corresponding picture is quite interesting. How many air conditioning units is that really?
That's right. This is a business structure in the Chunggu district of Seoul. And I started counting, and there's actually much more than 50 air conditioning units here.
Well, that's just less than half the building, too.
Exactly, just the part that's pictured. So imagine how much electricity that would be soaking up if they were all on. So certainly, please do conserve today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. We'll leave that story there and head on over to 중앙일보, which has as its top responses to the government's tax revision plan. The headline reads, from National Intelligence Service reform to higher taxes controversy, summer politics takes a rapid turn. Highlighting there the changing focus of the main opposition Democratic Party's street protest. As noted in the headline, Jungang says that the DP is switching gears from the topic of spy agency reform to what's fast becoming a heated issue of higher taxation of the middle class. Now, party chief Kim Han-gil, on his 100 days since being elected to the post yesterday, told a crowd that the tax reform plan amounted to pushing the middle and lower class off a ledge, and his party will launch a signature drive beginning today, targeting office workers in their 20s through 50s who will want to perhaps block that proposed plan. And continuing the topic over at 경향신문, we'll take a look at this headline. It also treats reaction to the tax revision plan as its top. The headline reads, "The people's response on tax issue grows." Particularly, the article notes, amongst civic groups and welfare experts. 경향 says this is because there appears to be a distortion to the incumbent administration's pledge to grow welfare offerings without tax increases, instead growing new resistance to the welfare plans. One professor says while the revised plan is not a tax bomb, it will affect too large a scope of people and therefore will grow a sense of loss and resistance. He says there needs to be more transparency in the administration's need for more money to fund the ambitious welfare programs. And finally, we'll wrap with a look at our business newspaper today. On that same note, Made Business newspaper's headline reads, annual salary of 34.5 million won or $31,000 taxation bill could be revised. Now, on the heels of resistance from the people, Made says that the government's plan could undergo heavy revisions during the parliamentary review process, which is, of course, slated for next month. One unnamed high-ranking source from the Strategy and Finance saying that the plan is a theoretical plan that requires thorough and fluid vetting, reflecting the opinions and concerns of the people during that parliamentary process. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Monday. Next up are your closing numbers from Friday's market action.
Today, August 12th, is a day dedicated for families separated by the Korean War. It was designated in 1982 by the Korean Red Cross to remember the families and help them reunite with their loved ones.
That's right. It's been about 60 years since they were separated, and we have the heartbreaking stories from the families involved.
6 decades have passed since the Korean War came to an end, but there are some people who are filled with more grief than happiness when the war halted. There are some 10 million members of separated families from the war.
My daughter was 4 years old when we were separated. Now they should both be well past their 60s and some are in their 70s.
I was so harsh on her without knowing we would be living apart like this. Sun-san, I miss you so much. I don't think I can do this anymore.
Since 1988, near 130,000 people have asked the Integrated Information System for Separated Families to help locate their lost family members. But currently, only about 70,000 of those members are still alive, and half of them are over the age of 80. And that's why now it's a battle against time for many of these people. Many refugees of war sought temporary housing at this port village in the south, which is close to North Korea. This area of Gyohyangni, Jumunjin, Ubin, Gangneung is referred to as the Jumunjin Refugee Village.
I was 16 years old when I fled the north. I'm now 79. It's been 60 years.
I arrived here when I was 11, but I remember everything. I didn't think I'll stay here this long. Just maybe 3 to 5 days, then go back to my hometown. It was hard living here. I often had to fight with hunger.
Many of them thought they would be returning to their homes and families in a few days, but that became 60 years. The displaced refugees had to fish and clean squids to make a living, but they had each other to call family. Unfortunately, as time passes by, their hopes that they could reunite with their families in the north gradually started dying out, and many are giving up on ever seeing their loved ones again.
I just miss them a lot. We've been separated for so long, but I can still see their faces when I close my eyes.
Since the first much-awaited family reunions in 1985, up until November 2010, there were 18 rounds of such reunions. Such meetings took place on nationally celebrated days like Liberation Day and nationwide holidays. To reopen through the 6th round of inter-Korean working-level talks aimed at resuming operations at the Kaesong Industrial Complex, no progress has been made. Many are hoping the 7th round of talks, scheduled for the 14th, will bring about some results.
North and South Korea have a unique relationship, not seen anywhere else. The two Koreas have very different views on the issue of separated families, and we have held numerous meetings to resolve this problem, but in vain. This is why, even though there have been continuous inter-Korean talks to address this issue since the 1970s, we haven't been able to make much progress.
3 years have passed since the last reunification of separated families, and many of the applicants have passed away due to old age. If speedy action isn't taken, more of the elderly members of the separated families will forever miss the opportunity to meet with their long-lost loved ones.
I think we need to explore various ways to resolve the issue of Korea's separated families. Not only should we consider working with the South Korean government and the North Korean Red Cross, but also with the ICRC and the IFRC.
When relations between the two Koreas are sour like they are now, they're the ones directly affected by such mood. And they really, for them, it's best that the two Koreas are negotiating again about resuming operations and at Kaesong, and also resuming the family reunions.
Right, exactly. And while the separated families can try to get in contact with their families in the north through unofficial channels, it really is the two Koreas who can provide a meeting between the two families, well, not the two families, but all the family members to meet in person. So it really is an issue that the two governments need to come down and sit and talk about it at the negotiating table.
I think everyone is hoping for inter-Korean relations to normalize quickly so reunions can resume. And it is 7:20 a.m. We're going to switch gears, and today is 말복, which means that it is the hottest day, and there are many different ways to cool off. Tommy has one of them for us,
Right,
plus
all right.
the weather.
It's time now to get a check on the weather, and Tommy is joining us from a valley in Yangju.
Good morning, Tommy.
Everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Changhung Recreation Park located in Yangju, Gyeonggi Province. Now today is Malbok here in Korea, which means that it is one of the last of the hot and sultry days of summer. Now tropical nights are still in continuation. This morning we are seeing hot and humid conditions with temperatures at about 27 degrees Celsius. Right now, standing in the outside conditions, I am feeling very sticky and it's just not very pleasant at all. Now, currently we are seeing partly foggy skies. However, throughout the day we will be seeing clear conditions. Now, Eunice and Hyungyang both mentioned about, conserving energy. Well, definitely, I know that sometimes the heat may be unbearable, but let's try to go ahead and reduce energy, especially during the hours from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the weather around Korea. Now, over in the nation's capital, highs will rise to 33. Daejeon is not far off at 34. Daegu will be sizzling hot at 37. Gangneung and over in Jeju Island, highs will peak up to 35 degrees. As for tomorrow, we will be seeing similar conditions like today, so bear with the heat, and I will be back on a cooler note in the latter half.
And still to come, a taxi driver warms the hearts of many, and delicate paintings that show even the smallest pores, and an ad in tribute of Korean fathers, and more stories making headlines online are coming your way on Hot Clicks. Stay tuned.
We have seen changes in the governments in the Northeast Asian regions, a shift in relations. South Korea, China, and Japan have had some sticking points in territorial issues and debates over historical events, and are currently working towards finding diplomatic ways of ironing out differences. For more on this issue, we are joined by visiting research fellow of the ASEAN Studies Center of the Institute of Southeast Asian Studies, Dr. Termsak Chalampala-Nupap. Good morning, Doctor, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, President Park Geun-hye has been pushing for the Northeast Asian Peace and Cooperation Initiative, also the trust-building process. What are some of the challenges that you see, or in your opinion, what are some challenges that she may face in achieving these goals?
Well, first of all, I should like to say that this is a very constructive initiative. It is good to come up with ideas on how to make peace and promote cooperation in Northeast Asia. My suggestion is this initiative should include as many countries as possible. Certainly it should include China, DPRK, Russia, and the USA in this initiative.
Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's Liberal Democratic Party recently won the upper house. Now, pundits are concerned about Shinzo Abe's hawkish stance now on the territorial disputes, and that may actually exacerbate the situation. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think we should make a distinction between winning the election, and certainly nationalism can win voters' support. But once you are in power, I think the quality of leadership should show in a constructive way to lead nationalism into a positive direction, to lead nationalism into cooperation with neighbors, but not to try to change history or rewrite history. Look into the future. Look into new ideas on how to promote cooperation, make peace and cooperation with neighbors. I think that should be the direction of the leadership.
The Northeast Asian countries have had disagreements of their own. Now, China, Japan, with the Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands, and there's Japan's claims over Korea's Dokdo Islets. Now, what would be the best way to solve these issues?
Well, I should like to point out that in Southeast Asia, in South China Sea, we also have serious dispute in the South China Sea. And I think the best way is to, again, look into the future. These are problems left behind by history, and we cannot change history, but we can learn from historical mistakes and then try to avoid them. Certainly the best way is try to talk, to discuss and find a peaceful solution. That's what we're trying to do between ASEAN and China. We have a framework for consultation and confidence building. I think in your case, between Korea and Japan, it's only bilateral. It should be easier to come sit down and talk. between China and Japan, also only two countries. Bilateral dispute usually easier to manage and then discuss and then find a win-win solution. I think one important mistake that we should all avoid is not to inflame nationalism. And then nationalism can force the government to take very negative action in this kind of territorial dispute. This is what we should try to avoid.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Japan kind of has that stance of nationalistic pride.
Well, he needs that to win elections, but now he already won. Now what he's going to do with the victory, make it useful, make it constructive.
Okay, there are also territorial disputes in Northeast Asian countries, like we just mentioned over here. Former diplomats of Japan and Russia, they've had their own disputes of their own. They sat down for discussion on creating an economic zone in the Kuril Islands, and this is also a disputed islets there. Would this be a positive example of peaceful cooperation and moving towards the future?
I think this is certainly another constructive solution. If we cannot settle the sovereignty dispute, maybe we can set it aside, and then at least we can share the resources. When we share the resources, the people on both sides can benefit. Maybe in the future, people, politicians, government will become more enlightened. They may be able to come up with a new solution on the old sovereignty problem left behind by history.
Okay, one last question before you go, Doctor. The ASEAN countries and the ASEAN region, what kind of cooperation are you looking forward to with South Korea?
Well, in ASEAN, we are building a community, and you may have heard that our first deadline is 2015. Korea is our dialogue partner since 1991. And next year, actually, our ASEAN leader will come to Korea for the second time, for the second ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit. That will be another good occasion to build closer relations between ASEAN and Korea. And you are having a free trade agreement with ASEAN. You are participating in what we call the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, that will involve India, Japan, China, Korea, Australia, and New Zealand in a very big economic cooperation arrangement. That is what we are doing, and we certainly hope to have Korea's support for ASEAN initiative in this area.
Doctor, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your insights with us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
And that was Dr. Termsak Chalampala-Nupap joining us on Korea Today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And still ahead on Korea Today, sartorial splendor is what you can see at a competition where master tailors battle it out to see who measures up. With more people looking for the perfect cut, we look into the return of the custom-made suit.
Good morning, I'm Chun Sung Cho, and let's find out what's on Hot Clicks this week. A parody video titled Seoul Train's Air Conditioner Room has gone viral among online users. Now, for those who don't know, in Seoul metros, there are separate carts labeled less air conditioned for those who don't want strong ACs even during the summertime. However, when it's extremely hot and humid like nowadays, the cooler ones are always full, and at times many are forced to just ride on those less air-conditioned and warmer carts. And this video is an obvious parody of director Bong Joon-ho's recently released movie Snowpiercer. While the plot of the real movie is the lower-class people on board the train fighting to get to the front of the locomotive where the upper class is, this comic parody features the competitive race for Seoulites to enter the coolest air-conditioned part of the train. And I love how it's building such suspense here. I'm sure many people can relate to this video and know what it feels like to be in that situation, thus leading to the increase of its popularity. A video uploaded on a car-related website has recently garnered much positive feedback and comments from cyber users. This 1 minute or so video features what was caught on tape, a taxi driver helping a physically indisposed elderly man into his taxi. Online viewers left complimentary comments on the taxi driver's calmness and patience in helping his senior customer into the car. And just by watching this video, it just automatically puts a smile on your face, doesn't it? What a heartwarming sight to see. Well, let's jump into the next story. Domestic online users have showed much interest to a young Korean artist's work featured on the United Kingdom's Daily Mail. I was caught off guard by myself when I saw the pictures. Can you believe that they're not photographs, but actually portrait paintings done by acrylic paint? They're so detailed that you can even see pores on the face. The portraits he drew vary from famous Hollywood stars to himself and his grandfather. When asked the reason behind such intricate drawings, the painter says he wants to establish a special and even closer bond with his subject through his detailed strokes. Currently, painter Chung Jung-won is teaching an arts education program at his alma mater, Hongik University, to pass on his great painting skills to his fellow students. Handmade burgers, specifically made in the Korean military kitchen, are called 군대리야 or armyria, derived from the name 롯데리아, which is a major Korean fast food franchise. It's just like the regular burger, except that strawberry jam or grape jam is added to the recipe. And recently, as a military experience TV program has become quite popular here in the country, and so has the military food. For example, there is bibimbap that is automatically heated when water is simply poured into the container pack, and supersized sausages only found in military rations. Moreover, as there are more and more people going camping these days, a lot of campers are also welcoming this military food as it's convenient, portable, and instantly edible. And finally, the last story of the day. An advertising campaign titled Body of a Warrior, launched by a pharmaceutical company, has been receiving a lot of clicks and views via SNS. And the image itself is none other than a body of a middle-aged man alone in a field. Not the kind of warrior you would normally think of. But the true meaning behind this is this older gentleman, looking rather weary and fragile, represents the look of fathers. As the caption states, name of the father well depicts the body of a warrior as he gave his all for his family. This one single picture truly tells 1,000 words. It makes me think of my father's hard work and sacrifices as he had to make to take care of my family. And I'm sure it's like that to anyone who watches this ad, and it's very thought-provoking.
I just thought of my father and got teary-eyed a little bit there too.
It has that effect. I mean, you see a frail man just standing there, and then once it closes in on his face, you can see the lines and the wrinkles and the sacrifices, you know, and he looks to be happy to have made all those sacrifices for his family. But it's a very touching ad indeed.
Yeah, I know. When you hear the word father, I feel like it gives you a sense of comfort and safety automatically. And this picture truly reminds us how our fathers are always trying their best not to show their weakness or sickness, to be that strong warrior for us, to the families.
Right. I mean, the image that we usually have for our fathers is that strong, problem-solving, family-supporting figure. But I guess what the video is trying to convey is that that's in reality how worn out they are. I need to give my dad a call today.
I agree. There's just so much more to it than the muscular macho body that we usually think of when we think of warrior, right? And well, yeah, it's a truly thought-provoking picture.
Call your dad after the show.
I will, definitely, yeah. Well, before I go, I'm going to switch gears a little bit by showing you some funny pictures on a Facebook page. If you upload pictures on the page, they will create a random collage of the images for free, and there are some hilarious ones. Enjoy them, and I'll see you back here next week on Hot Clicks.
And a good Monday morning to you all, as all the basketball fans here in the nation woke up to some good news this morning. Now, of course, on Saturday, the South Korean national team failed to beat the Philippines in the semifinals and had to face off against Taiwan last night for the fourth place matchup. Now, Korea needing a win in this game to earn a ticket to the World Championships, and Team Korea shows some great chemistry on the court with some nice passing all throughout the night. Now, Korea takes a 50-29 lead going into the halftime and never looks back, with Kyung University's Kim Min-gu putting up 21 points in the game as South Korea takes this game 75-57. Now, with the win, Korea finishes third in the Asian Basketball Championships and earns a ticket to the World Championships for the first time in 16 years. And check this out, here's a sport that's receiving a lot of attention lately, sports climbing, and all thanks to Kim Jae-in, who's making a name for herself in the sport. Now, in the second World Cup event taking place in Australia, the 25-year-old finished third in the event, earning a bronze medal as Kim Jae-in continues to make her way up the podium. Of course, with that said, moving on to the KBO, you really got to give it to all the fans out there going out to the stadiums despite the intense heat. But in the end, it was all worth it, as all 4 games on Sunday night were quite exciting. Of course, the LG Twins sweeping the 2-game series against the Tusan Bears in another close game 3-1. And the Nexen Heroes continued to struggle as they lost to the last place Hanwha Eagles at home 6-3. And so with that said, let's take a look at the other 2 games that took place last night, starting off with the Samsung Lions taking on the Kia Tigers. Of course, we go over to the second inning of the game here. An Chi-hong sending one deep to left field. This one, a solo shot, as the Kia Tigers take an early 1-0 lead. They're going to shift over to the 4th inning here. Park Han-hee with 1 man on, a 2-run shot to opposite field as the Samsung Lions take a 2-1 lead. But we're not done yet. Park Sung-min singles in another one here as Samsung continues to swing away. Before this next play, Cho Dong-chan bunts in another run as Samsung takes a 4-1 lead. Now we're going to stick with the same inning here. This time, Lee Bom-ho's solo shot to deep left field, and it's 4-2 Samsung Lions. Going to shift over to the 6th here. Samsung up 5-2. A wild pitch brings home Lee Yong-gyu before this next play here. Lee Jong-hwan in the same at-bat singles in 2 runs, and it's a tied ball game. Now we're going to shift over to the 8th inning this time. Check out this next play. A pass ball scores the winning run for Kia. 6-5 your final, as Kia finally slaps their 11-game losing streak against the Samsung Lions. And next up, the SK Wyverns taking on the Lotte Giants. First inning, Chun Jun-woo RBI double to left gives the Lotte Giants the early 1-0 lead. We're going to go over to the next inning of the game. Kim Gang-min deep to right field. A solo shot ties the ball game 1-1. Shifting to the 4th inning, Park Jin-man this time RBI single to left field as SK now takes the lead 2-1. 6th inning, Lotte Kang Min-ho singles to right, and it's a tie ball game once again. We're going to go over to the 8th inning of the game. Lotte's Son Ah-sub deep to right. Let's make this one 3-2 Lotte Giants. More home runs, same inning. SK's Chejong this time, sending one deep to left field, and what do you know, it's a tie ball game 3-3. Then comes this next play here, bottom of the 9th inning, 2 men on. This one's going to be Han Dong-min sending one deep to right, back. Ball game over, walk-off home run as SK takes this game 4-3 as they continue to bounce back late in the season. And of course, with that said, we're going to move on to some K-League Classic matches that went on Sunday night, as well as Seongnam Ira Cheonma defeated the Busan I-Park 1-0, check that, and Cheonnam Dragons beating and Daegu FC drawing 1-1. So with that said, let's take a look at some other games here, starting off with the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings taking on Gyeongnam FC. Of course, going into the game here, only takes 3 minutes for the first goal of the match to be scored as Cho Dong-gun finds the back of the net, pokes one in, 1-0 Suwon. And right before the end of the first half, in the 42nd minute, let's make this 2-0 thanks to Seo Jung-jin. Now, Gyeongnam's game is just not working out in this match as Suwon makes this one 3-0 in the 70th minute, as this time Santos gets one past the goalkeeper, and that's your final score as Suwon holds on to their 5th place spot. And next up, Pohang Steelers taking on the Daejeon Citizens. First 20 minutes, both sides attack and attack and attack, firing shots left and right. Now both sides looking very aggressive all night, with Daejeon putting up 4 shots on goal, with Pohang putting up 9 shots on goal. But all it takes was the 1 goal in this one. 59th minute spot kick from Hwang Ji-soo, and that's it. 1-0 Pohang takes this match as they take the first place spot with 45 points this season. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. See you guys again for your sports needs.
여름, 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 여름.
Just to make sure, the singer was shouting out summer. For those who don't know her, not really familiar with Korean, who were saying summer, summer, summer.
Oh, okay, quite the singer there. So now we saw some wild bees enjoying the summer. She is no wild bees, but Tommy is enjoying the summer as well.
Exactly.
Let's go back to her and see what she's up to.
All right, Tommy, show us how to cool off there in style.
Where is she?
That's right, guys. I'm back reporting live from Changheung Recreation Park, located in Yangju, Gyeonggi Province. Now, as you can see, I'm here at the stream, and along the Changheung Valley, there are a lot of sightseeing to do. Many visitors come here every year because of the fact that it is New Year's Seoul. Now, I want to go ahead and explain to you that here in Korea, there are 3 Bok days, which we call Chobok, Jungbok, and Malbok, and those are considered the beginning, middle, and end of the hottest periods in the summer. And today marks Malbok, which is the hottest, or the end of the hottest period, finally. Now, that's why I found myself here at the stream, because the water here is so refreshing. It totally makes you forget about the heat, definitely. And back in the days when there was no air conditioning, no refrigerators, this is kind of one of the ways that many people will cool themselves off with. So I decided to kind of gather some fresh fruit this morning. We have some peaches and chamwe, or Korean melon, and of course you can't forget the watermelon. Okay, so let's move on over to where I kind of put out like a picnic. Okay. All right, take off my shoes here. All right. Okay, so, I mean, back in the days there was also ice, but, I mean, ice was also very valuable, so not a lot of people could keep their hands on it. So here in Korea, people would do what we call bokdarim, which is to cool oneself off and, of course, to keep oneself healthy from the hottest days of the summer. Okay. Wow, the fruit is actually pretty cool from keeping it in the stream. No need for refrigerating at all. Oh, also here in Korea, they also eat what we call samgaetang, or chicken ginseng soup, on the day of Malbok, because here in Korea we have a term erupted, and that basically means fight heat with heat. So go out and have yourselves a bowl of samgaetang and enjoy Malbok. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
The big question these days for men is off the rack or custom made. So which is it?
Off the rack.
Yeah.
I mean, custom made, you're imagining like it's going to cost a lot of money.
It looks tailor made.
Well, you know, I just snip a little bit down on the bottom of the bottom
right, and there was a special event related to this fashion trend that was held recently, and our Audrey Young was there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you mentioned, a very special event was held right here in Seoul last week by the World Federation of Master Tailors, and there were not only fashion trend updates and information from these master tailors, but a fashion show and an exposition as well. So let's check it out. Custom-made suits are back. More people are choosing to buy tailored clothes, and in time for this, an amusing event was held in Seoul last week. Today I'm going to watch a master tailor competition put on by the 35th World Federation of Master Tailors. Let's go. A meeting held by the World Federation of Master Tailors brought in crowds of tailors in Korea and abroad. This event is held once every 2 years in different locations, and this is the second time Seoul hosted since 1991. Some 600 people from 23 different countries, including Korea, the US, and Italy, attended the event. With industrialization, the market for tailored suits had shrunk with the appearance of ready-made goods. But since individuality is being more emphasized, custom suits are making a comeback. But what has changed? In the past, broad square shoulders were accentuated, but today, classic and well-fitting designs are in.
So I'm going to look like that with a tailored suit, right?
No.
But I'm not buying one.
Also, Korean tailors have been noted for their exceptional skills, and at this event, many of these professionals were able to show off their tailoring talents in front of many. Lee Sang-chun is one of these skilled tailors, and thanks to his great work, customers continue to buy
Unlike
his
the
suits.
ready-made suits, custom-tailored ones fit really well, and I like that I can get the design I want.
Lee's specialty is sewing, and because of his precise needlework, he earned the nickname Golden Needlework. 70 tailors participated in this year's competition, and in order to come out with the best products in the time given, all of them were busy at work. Every single stitch was a result of their efforts.
It's a lot of work.
It's a competition, so everyone is kind of checking up on each other. It's a quiet yet very competitive scene.
A tailor's devotion is the beauty in a custom-made suit.
But at least I got it out of the way.
After the competition, the awards ceremony took place. A nervous look crossed the face of the tailors as they awaited the announcement. Lee was also very nervous. But unfortunately, he didn't win. This shows that other tailors were working just as hard as him.
I gained a lot of confidence through this event. So now I'll work even harder to win next year's Asian Tailor competition.
Korean tailors continue their hard work, and it's perhaps these efforts that have helped custom-made suits shine once again.
We really sent the wrong person to cover this story. Young could have had a field day there.
I really think I would. Those suits look great.
Right, and there was a segment dedicated for famous Korean tailors there, huh?
Yes, there was. The very famous hanbok designer Park Soo-lyo was introduced at the event, and one of Korea's most famous designers' work, the late Andre Kim's suit designs, were also on display. And when their works were on the runway, it was very, very, very well received by the visitors.
Okay, Audrey, now I'm still not convinced 100%. So what would entice me to go get a tailor-made suit? I mean, you can actually get alterations made on a off-the-rack suit just as well, but tell us some of the differences. What are the advantages of a tailor-made suit?
Well, Young, I think it all comes down to it's 100% mine or my style from the beginning right to the end product. But price-wise, I would have to say of course, it varies, just like any off-the-rack stuff, anything that's ready-made. It just depends on who designed it,
the material,
and the fabric that was used. But what we're seeing now is that as custom tailored suits are becoming more commercial. The prices too are also becoming very affordable and reasonable.
Okay, that one-of-a-kind suit for yourself.
Yeah, and you talked a lot about great Korean tailors, but forgive my ignorance, but I don't really know that many internationally renowned Korean tailors. Do we have a lot?
Yeah, we have two in particular, renowned Korean master tailors. Baegun-hyun and Lee Chung-gu, and they've actually helped to propel Korea to an international scale as they've won numerous gold medals at international competitions. Yeah, they have.
I've also heard that many people from overseas, they'll actually fly over here, and while they're here, they'll get a custom suit made.
Right. In particular, two places you might want to visit if you're interested in getting your own custom tailored suit. Sogongdong and Itaewon, definitely two places to look out for as they have many of these tailor shops.
Okay, since
what was the name of the tailor again? Baekhangum, you said?
Baegun-hyun.
Baegun-hyun. So a trip down to
Okay,
Baegun-hyun's
I needed that name. Because since it is that one-of-a-kind thing and you can't really make any alterations to them afterwards, I guess I'll drop a few pounds and then head over there and get
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. All right, thank you, Audrey, for that.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
And have a great Monday. It is malbok. We're going to have that malbok meal together.
삼계탕.
All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.